Hey, what's up gamers, my name is Fox and welcome to my visual guide for, excuse the pronunciation, I have no idea, Worqor Lar Dor Extreme, where we face off against Valigarmanda. Now let's just jump right into the explanation of the fight. Start off by making sure you have assigned proper pairs because this will come back at some point in the fight. Then here is also an overview of the markers that my group has been using in party finders. Let's talk mechanics. First, I'm going to show you a mechanic that will reoccur multiple times in this fight, so make sure you learn this first. Basically, it's the in-out cone mechanic. So it will be different variations of this mechanic, which are indicated by the movement of Valigarmanda. The in mechanic is indicated by him circling around the arena, basically forming a form of eye in the middle, which is going to be safe. So make sure to be inside of the middle of the circle, basically. The out mechanic is indicated by Valigarmanda raising up in front of the arena, also showing his claw in some form or way. It should be very visible. This indicates moving outside of the attack circle. Lastly, we have the cone arena, where also Valigarmanda kinda is raising above the arena, but in a different way. Just make sure you look at the video to know how this looks like. This is the cone AoE, so only the very front sides are safe in this case. As already mentioned earlier, this will come back multiple times with a special twist to it, which I will of course mention in every phase. The first mechanic of the fight is called Spicicle. Small blue lines will go across the arena, which will indicate the trajectory course of an icicle. Basically, the way to resolve this pretty simple is by moving towards the side of the second line appearing all the way to the side, and then you slowly move to the inward of the arena afterwards, just like shown in the video. Once you made your way back into the middle of the arena, small ice rocks at the sides or edges of the arena will start exploding in big AoE fashion. So simply put, make sure to dodge here accordingly. Next up, we will be having Sky Ruin, which indicates a phase change, and in this fight we'll always be going into the fire phase first. This is followed up with Tri-Scorch, which is just simply big rate-wide damage, also putting debuffs on players that will do damage later on. This is instantly followed up with a text popping up on your screen that says a volcanic eruption is imminent. This is very simple. Look to either volcano. If they are erupting, that side of the arena is going to be unsafe. So make sure to move to the opposite side. Here is one example of how it looks like without eruption and once with an eruption, so you know how they look like. And once you are used to this, you can simply put look at one side and you know if you have to move to that side or the opposite side. Towards the end of this mechanic, small AoEs will appear below random players. This will now be the first time where we will see the in-out cone mechanic. In the fire phase, this mechanic is paired with a partner stack. A DPS and a support need to stack to resolve the incoming damage, which will target either the DPS or the support. So make sure to first dodge as necessary in, out or cone pattern, and then stick with your partner to share the upcoming damage. After this stack, 4 players will be having an ice marker above their head counting down, indicating that they need to move at the end of the countdown or otherwise they will be frozen. Next up, we will be having one of the biggest, longest and coolest tank buses I've seen in all of my Final Fantasy XIV career, which is called Mountain Fire. For the tanks, you simply need to move into the tower at the front of the arena, but also make sure to keep swapping with the other tank, as this buster puts a fire vulnerability onto whomever soaks the tank buster. The party needs to adjust depending on Valigarmanda's position to make sure they are behind the tanks, where a small cone will serve as a safe spot. To my knowledge, the pattern in which Valigarmanda moves are absolutely random. After the tank buster, the healers will have a fire marker above their head, which indicates a healer stack. With the light party, that is, of course. Yet this stack will happen 3 times in a row and you have to move. So make sure that you move with your light party and definitely heal enough, because this actually hurts, and if you stand in the AoE, you guess what will happen. In our party we used C and D markers for these stacks and worked our way around the target basically, which worked perfectly fine for us. After this mechanic has resolved, the remaining 4 people who did not have an ice marker will receive it now, so keep moving, but make sure to not go into the fire puddles, of course. We will again now see the volcano half arena mechanic, so make sure to look at the volcano, then move to the right side, and then dodge the small AoEs. Again, we will be having now the random in, out, or cone mechanic, where you have to be paired with your partner for the stack damage. Lastly, we will be having 8 thunder marker appearing above everyone's head, which simply put is a spread, so make sure to spread out as necessary. To indicate the end of the fire arena phase, we will be having disaster zone and the arena will return to the original state. The next cast is called Ruin Foretold, which will summon 3 nails onto the arena. Of course, you have to kill those nails. This is a form of DPS check, by the way, because Valigarmanda will get stacks and will do more and more damage. Doing these 3 nails, you will be having 2 different AoEs targeting, I think, the tank or the healers. I'm not quite sure about this, but basically you have to split up in 2 groups, and you also have to, of course, dodge the incoming AoEs on the ground. So the way we handled this is that we had our 2 groups start on opposite sides, taking their own nail down, and then we moved to the middle nail and took that down together. Basically, though still spreading out, obviously, so make sure to spread and kind of wiggle around the AoEs just like it's shown here in the video. Another thing I'm not 100% sure about, but I think it is true, is that you need to have a tank at the front of this stack, of this light party stack, because it does more damage there. I died a few times there, not sure why, so this is my only logical conclusion, that the tank needs to be in front of the group there. After you finished the nail phase, we will be having Thule Disaster, which is simply put big red white damage. Then we'll see again Sky Ruin, which will either put you into ice phase or the thunder / wind phase. So this is random. You will have one of the 2 phases first and then afterwards the other one. First, we will be covering the thunder phase. Once you enter the thunder phase, you might notice different ground AoEs. Basically, the lighter green parts of the arena will levitate you, which is necessary for certain mechanics, of course, and the darker ground where you will just be on the floor as before. The phase opens with, again, a big red white damage called Tri-Scourge. Make sure to heal as necessary. This is followed up with a light party stack indicated by the fire marker above the healer's head. Here you need to make sure that either your whole party is levitated or grounded, because otherwise not everyone will be in the stack and they hurt quite a lot actually. The first new and big mechanic here is called Hail of Feathers. Feathers will be falling onto the ground out of the sky and causing big impact damage. So make sure to run to the opposite side of where the first feather dropped and then keep kind of circling away from them to avoid this damage, of course. What's important here is that towards the end of this mechanic, you will need to kill 1 feather in order to have a safe spot for the next cast, which is called Blighted Bolt. So simply put, kill 1 feather with your group. After this, every player gets a marker, which is either a small thunder AoE or an ice marker again. It is quite simple. If you have the ice marker, make sure to keep moving as before and be levitated this time. So make sure you're levitated. If you have the thunder marker, make sure to spread out appropriately because it's a small AoE and be on the ground. If you have problems remembering this, remember that, electricity, grounded, so... Anyway, after this, we'll have our first random in, out, or cone mechanic. And in this phase, this will be paired with a twister-like mechanic. So basically, once the cast is done, make sure to move because it will leave a big AoE on your position at the moment the mechanic is being executed. So again, make sure to move right after it has been finished. Next up, Valigarmanda will cast Thunderous Breath, combined with small circles appearing on the sides of the arena. You need to make sure to be levitated here to avoid the Thunderous Breath coming from Valigarmanda, but also you need to find the safe spot for the circles, as they will be firing a straight AoE through the arena. Another 8 marker set will go out to everyone, so make sure to be either levitated with ice or be grounded and spread out with thunder. And this will be followed up with another in, out or cone mechanic, again leaving behind the AoE, so make sure to move accordingly. Disaster Zone is again big rate-wide damage and will transform the arena back to its original state. And lastly, we'll have the final mechanic of the Thunder Phase. While it is already over, this will always come after the Thunder Phase, which is simply put a Tank Buster Tower and a big knockback, so make sure to use Arm's Length or Shortcast to avoid the knockback or be in the safe spots if you forgot to use it basically. Lastly, we're going to go over the Ice or Snow phase, of course. Tri-Scourge is big AoE damage, and this time 4 markers will appear on the tanks and healers. Tanks simply move to the front sides to take their big AoE tank buster there and make sure to obviously mitigate it, and healers again stack with the fire marker with the rest of their light parties. After that, a text should appear indicating that an avalanche is coming, and this will be accompanied with markers popping up on the side of the screen indicating the avalanche's trajectory, so make sure to move out of it. The avalanche will be combined with an in-out or cone mechanic though, so this is the first time we'll see it in the ice phase, and it of course also has a special gimmick. For the ice phase, the in-out or cone mechanic will leave 4 small circles in the arena which will shoot out line AoEs in lots of directions. This looks very scary, but it actually isn't, because it is quite simple to find a safe spot. If a circle appears on the 1 marker, your safe spot is slightly above the B marker. If no circle spawns on the 1 marker, it will be in between the A and 1 marker. This has worked out every time for me, so I assume there's only 2 different patterns. Next up, you will get 4 thunder markers, so spread as necessary. The phase that's coming up now will be quite a dodge fest. First we will have the same mechanic that we saw at the start, the spike sickle mechanic, where you simply move again to the safe side, yet this time you will also have an avalanche coming down while the orbs on the edge of the arena are exploding, so make sure to dodge this accordingly, not like me in the video. Again, this will also be followed up with an in or out cone mechanic, which then again leaves the circles on the arena, so make sure to check for the safe spot. Don't forget to look at the edges of the arena because another avalanche will be coming down, so make sure to move to the safe part of the arena here. Lastly, you will be having the freezing dust cast happening, which will simply put freeze you if you're not moving at the end of this cast. The end of this phase will simply be 4 spread markers and be prepared for Disaster Zone. The final mechanic that always happens again after the ice phase is called Ice Talon, and are simply 2 big AoE tank busters. After you've then done both phases, not much is left to be seen. You just have Wrath Unfurled, which is big AoE damage, the cool Mountain Fire tank buster where you have to dodge accordingly of course, and the last cast, as far as I know, is Tilly Disaster, which is again big damage, and then it will be Enrage. And that's it, you're done with the fight. Congratulations on clearing. I actually really enjoyed this fight. I thought it was pretty well designed. I haven't done the other extreme yet, but if it's similar to this one, it's gonna be also super nice. So if you enjoyed the video, if it helped you, make sure to leave a like and share it with your party members or with your friends, so they also have an easier time clearing the new X Primal. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.